Welcome to the motherfucking What's up, guitar broskies and broskies?
Broshies!
This intro's getting so lit.
Oh my god.
It's so good. It's so good. Motherfuckers, we talk about
drip is
12
so fire.
strings. The drip is so
12
fire.
12-string guitars.
I don't know.
One plus two.
My camera's mirrored.
2 plus
so
1. This many plus 2.
Deuces. Minus
Deuces.
10. Too many feet. God.
I'm 22.
Deuces.
Deuces.
What you sipping on tonight?
Actually, iced tea right now.
That shit's
That
weak.
might switch at some
That shit's
point.
weak. I'm a pour
City
some-
barbecue iced tea.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's. Ooh.
Sipping on.
Oh, what? Wait. What is that?
This is OCD, number 5.
OCD. Okay.
It stands
Okay.
for Old Crow Distillery. It's the original Old
Wow.
Crow Distillery that some NBA player and his friends bought. It's itty bitty
Wow.
little joint. Itty bitty little joint.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah. So
Nice.
So that's what I'm gonna sip on, and I've got
Nice.
an a Willet blend, or I guess it's a neat glass technically, but yeah.
Nice. That's
Because I
super
feel like I
hot.
got a little flame for drinking out of plastic cups last time I was on the stream. So, so I pulled out a fucking glass for you, Josh.
Gave you some shit.
I gave you. Now I'm bringing you that real shit back. Just for you,
Yes,
just
I do
for
have a
you.
hookah going though, so you know,
As you should. As you should.
getting it going anyway.
Build that shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, dude. So as I'm clicking buttons, get everything dialed in. I also went to this place, which you won't be able to read 'cause it's backwards. But that says Mug and Bun. I found the
Mug and bun. Oh,
as the cup says, if you can read backwards, it's Indy's
Uh-huh.
oldest and finest drive-in, and it's been
Okay.
serving fine food for over 60 years. So
Indiana's fine dining experience.
I passed this. I was like, well, dude, I gotta stop by and get a burger from that joint as I was driving around Indy today.
Gotta check it out. See what's up.
I don't know if it's definitely not Indy's finest food. It might be his
Yeah.
oldest drive-in, but you know, it had some charm. I mean, they treated me very nicely. So shout out.
Nice,
to Mug and
nice,
Bun. I bet it'd be a cool establishment to go to in the evenings when all their neon lights are blazing and stuff.
Yeah, I bet.
Have that,
Do they have
that
the-
like 50s feel?
They don't have girls in roller skates delivering your food to your
Nope.
door, do they?
They were wearing tennis shoes
Call-
and yoga pants.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
No complaints. Ladies, if you're watching, they're not watching.
They're not watching.
But by the way, you know, before we get into the conversation, I do want to
Yeah.
say that we've just surpassed 100 followers on Instagram,
Wow.
which is pretty cool. You know, we're
That
just getting
deserves-
going.
To all of our followers, that deserves a nice fuck you all. From
Exactly.
the boys.
From your boys. It's because we love and
Yeah,
hate.
and hate.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
so
fucking tell me
tw-
about your
12
12-string
strings.
adventure. You're looking for
dude, so
the jangle
yeah.
jangle, the jingle jangle.
I need twice as many strings to make me feel whole, you know?
You up,
I-
make you. I don't know the song.
Yeah, dude, I was listening to this band, this Swedish death metal band actually.
The place you always
Um,
expect to hear the 12-string guitar.
It's where you go to hear 12-string guitars. I mean, who needs folk music when you have Swedish death metal, you know? Which actually, I mean, I think they have kind of like the Swedish folk music. They have all of those guys have that baked into their blood, you know?
Sure. Sure.
If you like a lot, I've heard so many of those Swedish guys like reference Swedish folk music. It's just
Well, when you
it's a
get
thing.
30 days a night, you have nothing else to do but sit around your fireplace and jangle.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, they're probably actually one of the Scandinavian countries are probably the one of the highest selling points for 12-string guitars actually, and
Actually, wouldn't
you know
surprise me.
hurdy-gurdies and such.
Yeah, no, definitely heard.
Anyway, yeah, I was listening to this band that I haven't listened to for like I don't even know, like a decade or something, and they had incorporated some 12 strings into these super heavy songs. They do like an interlude or a bridge or something like that, and it just really struck me. And you know, I mean, we worked in the music store. We were around 12 strings all the time. They were really more of like kind of a bane of our existence.
I was gonna say they're
more
really
than more
kind of a pain in my ass. That's how I've never.
right.
considered it.
They're really just more of a nuisance than anything when you're having to maintain 6 of them all year round.
Because they never sell.
Because they never sell, and you know what I started doing actually? It's a funny thing. I think we started selling more of them after I did this. I started detuning all of them a whole step.
So they were easier to play.
Yeah, exactly. They were easier to play, and they sound bigger.
Yeah, well,
because
sure.
we didn't carry any really expensive 12 strings. We carried you know, like probably in that $300 to $800 range.
Did we have some $800?
$300-400.
I feel like a lot of them were like Washburns and Alvarez's and
they were.
Fenders.
Yeah. Every now and then we get like we get a more expensive Alvarez or something like that in, but
like one of the Master Series or something. I don't ever remember getting like a Martin or a Taylor 12 in. I'm
very
sure
rarely.
We had
I
one
think
at some point, but I don't.
Yeah,
I can't think of it, if that makes sense.
I can't either. We may have gotten a Taylor. I'm sure we got Taylor in at some point, but definitely not a Martin. I don't think we ever got a Martin 12 string in. But yeah, so I heard this kind of mix, you know, like this mix of 12 string into the heavier stuff, and they had spacier guitars in there too. So it was kind of in my ballpark where I'm at right now, you know.
So in those mixes, you said that they were bringing out in the interlude. Were they playing them whole song and just as because you know how sometimes when you put an acoustic guitar under a let's say traditional rock band track, often the acoustic guitar doesn't actually cut through, but it adds this kind of like percussive nature where it's almost like the string jangle isn't prominent, but it adds almost something that feels almost more like an egg shaker or something. I've done that in some songs, just like to give vibe. It's like the acoustic.
This is
really
more right up front.
So they were
this
like,
is more right up
now
front acoustic.
we're going down into like a soft part and bringing
it. Well,
the
it's kind of like they had orchestration through the whole thing, and they kind of had some synth stuff, not synth, but like padding in there for strings and whatnot in different places. So it was kind of like that was always going in the background. So it's kind of like when they hit a spot to where the heavy guitars could drop out.
Yeah.
The acoustic guitar, either a regular acoustic or a piano or a 12 string would pop in there, and it would be like, okay, it's kind of like we're stepping back now a little bit, and dynamically. So
what band
it's kind of cool
because this sounds like proggier than when I think Death.
It's well, I wouldn't say it's. They're not super proggy. They have some different elements in there, but it's a band called Insomnium.
Okay.
And I've seen them once live.
Did they do that type of shit?
They were
Did they have like a acoustic on a stand or something?
They didn't. No, they didn't have any acoustic stuff. They were touring with a band at the time called Dark Tranquility, and that's actually the band I went to see.
Sure, I'm
and
more familiar. I feel like I've heard Insomnium with you at some point in time for sure, but I can't
probably
bring it out of my brain movies currently.
Yeah, so I mean, I did listen to them for a little bit, but nothing too extensive, honestly. They were kind of always a secondary band for me. Dark Tranquility really, like, they kind of do the same thing-ish, but more to my liking, I guess. This is different. I'm finding a lot of stuff in it that I do like, but...
Isn't that funny how sometimes when you go back to bands that you experienced when you were younger, maybe didn't have as much time for when you were younger, and you go back and listen, you actually find things that you're like, wow, this was cool. And maybe it was like because they were not as an they weren't like a headlining band, maybe the production was a little less, so it was a little you know, or whatever, like the classic like opener band thing is like maybe their shit isn't as polished, but when you dig into it, it's got a lot of cool shit there.
Yeah, and I started listening to, like, if you go back and I mean they formed in like the late 90s, I think.
Super young band.
A lot of those lot of those Swedish death metal bands formed around then anyway, like
Sure.
mid to late 90s. If you listen to those albums, you know, you're one step away from a trash can, you know. But if you get into their stuff that's like mid 2000s, that actually sounds pretty polished, and they've gotten better and better production wise, of course.
Yeah, well, just think about
But,
how much easier it's become since the early
yeah.
mid '90s to put out a record on a lower budget that sounds way better. You know, like
Yeah.
even when I started doing records that we were paying people to do, the sound qualities that we were getting in like 2000, in like 2006, like compared to what I can do myself with my knowledge,
Right.
is
Yeah, what we
phenomenally
can
better.
do, just buy ourselves with Logic and some plugins,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, and that was doing like full. I mean, the very first EP I did, it was in my parents' house because I still lived there at the time. It was like a year out of high school, and I mean, we had the kit in the living room. We did the cabs in a guest bathroom. We did the gang vocals and the main vocals in my room. So I mean, you got to think of how many snake wires were running through that house. I mean, and
your parents must have hated you.
My mom was out of town, and I just told my dad.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was like, "Hey, Dad, like I've got some buddies coming over. We're gonna have like wires running through the house for a week for some music. Is that cool?" And I think he was like, "Well, I don't know, whatever." I was like, "Okay, cool." You know,
He's just like.
Yeah,
I'll be in the garage or my room or whatever.
Yeah, it was one of those things
too.
Like we recorded, even back then, you know, we recorded during the day. It was like, you know, we would start at like 9 and we would finish up by, you know, maybe 2 or 3 or something. So like, it wasn't like we were fucking up. So by the time he got home, all the shit was laid out, but he didn't have a bunch of like fuck up band kids running through his house. I mean, let's be real. He still did, but he was used to that.
Right.
He's like, man, is there a drum kit in my living room? It's like, yeah, sorry, it'll be gone tomorrow. Yeah.
He comes in from a hard day work, looks in the living room, he's like, huh.
Yeah,
and like it saunters past it.
Yeah, and our desk was the kitchen table. The guy recording us brought like one of those like Yamaha 48 track.
Oh my god!
So like we had like, I mean, it's not like a great desk, but it was like still a real like he was taking everything in and then going out to his laptop running Cool Edit Pro.
Oh my lord!
You know what that was? Yeah, and that's how we did our very first EP. It was like a little 6-songer. And
it's amazing.
It didn't sound bad, but it didn't sound good either. You know what I mean? It didn't sound great. It had, you know, he ended up sampling or triggering all the drum bits, and I think like he might have kept the cymbals, but like everything sounded like. And we were like a pop punk post-hardcore band back then, and he was a hardcore guy. So I mean, every snare hit sounded.
You were a progressive. You were a progressive pop punk.
Yeah, it's so progressive.
Post-hardcore. I don't know what was going on, but
yeah, it
was interesting.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I still want you guys to rehash those songs, bring them back to life.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. But yeah, I kind of tried to do that. I had a Boss unit. It was a 12-track with a CD burner built into it. And
that's
like
how we did our demos back then.
Yeah, first band I was in, we tried to do that, and we just couldn't. Like. It was rough.
Dude, those old Boss units, their LCD screens were about the size of the pictures we're in right now. And you're trying to do all the tracks and editing and stuff. And it might as well bad. Like, I mean,
it might as well have been like a flip phone screen.
Yeah. I mean, but I remember plugging into those, and like they had like guitar cab sims and effects, and like they weren't great, but you could just plug your guitar straight into that thing and get a sound. I don't think it was a good sound, but it was a sound.
No,
you know,
it was bad.
You could record, yeah.
It was a nightmare though. If you tried to run a click track and do all that stuff, though, it was
dude, no
really
way.
rough.
No way. I didn't know what a click track was back when we were using that shit. So like, it was irrelevant.
Yeah, it was good times. How far we've come,
dude. Seriously. At least.
So dude. At least.
A little bit of splatter.
Gotta get that splatter.
So you're looking at 12
strings.
Dude. So what
I'm
are
looking
you
at 12 strings.
Like,
I'll tell you what.
is,
Okay,
what is
so
getting you
so
off?
my initial thing was just to look at what the best $500. That was like the price point I was kind of looking at. $500, because I knew from working at IRC, I knew you could get like a decent guitar for that, like an Alvarez or like Washburn or Takamine or whatever.
Especially these days. Like back then, for sure.
Yeah.
These days, of course, you can. You get anything you want for $500. It's not killer.
Pretty much, yeah. And I found that's still kind of the case. The main problem that I ran into, I made a trek up to the north side of town, which is where most of the music stores are in Indianapolis, and had to go up there anyway, so I figured why not. And nobody has any 12 strings.
Interesting.
Like what I found is that, so we all know that during COVID, as guitar players, like guitars were scarce, right?
Yeah.
And they've just now started to get the Guitar Center up on the north side had a ton of electric guitars. Like their walls were completely full. I was actually really shocked.
That's actually really cool.
But their
Inventory's
acoustics are
in.
It's starting to come back in. Their
and I think
acoustics
demand
are still
is going
lacking
down
though.
a little bit though. I'm assuming
I
some
think
of that
so,
is
too.
demand starting to wane as people are starting.
Everybody, dude,
back
people
to
wanted to
work
play guitar more than ever when they were locked in their houses.
Yeah.
It was like a perfect storm. It was like no guitars, no supply chain, and everybody needed to either get a guitar or they wanted to play golf or something else they could do,
Dude,
like outside.
all those hobbies. I know I've got a buddy who's super into BMX bikes, and so he's basically trying to go back and get like the stuff he idolized as a kid, like what would have been, let's say, in like the 89, 91, 92, whatever, like a $3,000 bike was back then. He's trying to go. He's been buying parts and basically building his dream bikes,
like a GT or a Redline or a Mongoose or something like that, one of the real high end ones.
Yeah. Like those. That's not my world, so I don't know a lot about it. But he's like passionate.
I was way into that when I was young. When I was like a teenager, I had a couple dynos, a GT.
Dude, and like that's the funny thing. Like all those like the bikes that were high end back then, just like guitars, the ones that like if you fell in love with like, let's say, a 90s guitar, like the old 90s Les Paul classics, you know how they're like 3Gs right now to pick them up on the used market, and they were probably like $1,800 or $1,500 back then. Like these have scaled because of all the people wanting to get into the hobby and going back with like, I'm not going to buy the new cool bike. I want to buy the bike that I wanted when I was 7, but I had like the rip-off or whatever. Like just like with guitars, that same thing. It happened to all the like hobbyists. Magic the Gathering, something I dabbled in quite heavily. Same thing. That skyrocketed through the pandemic.
It's crazy.
All that stuff. Just got a renaissance of people doing what we used to do before the internet when you're trapped in your house. You got a whole bunch of...
You trapped in that closet?
I pull out my Beretta! In a video game for funsies. It's a joke. Yes. Don't demonetize us.
Right. No, it's not... Yeah. Not serious. We're not serious. We're talking about R. Kelly.
Yeah. Which is...
There's an R. Kelly story, but I won't go into it right now. But he's been in the news. We actually KT, our buddy, he sent us a clip of, not a clip, but a new news article about KT, about R. Kelly. Yes. But look into it, folks, if you want some entertainment.
There's no way all the people don't know.
He's a dirtbag extraordinaire, actually, at this point, but very prolific dirtbag. But yeah, so I went up there to check out strings and really didn't make much headway. Guitar Center had one guild, and it was literally unplayable. Like it had sat there for so long, or either that in a container shipped somewhere so long that the neck was like a longbow.
I was just going to say it's better for archery than guitar playing.
It was. It really was, yeah. I literally picked it up and immediately put it back down, and like I made some sort of noise where I was like, ah! And there were a couple girls in the guitar room there, and I guess the one girl had just picked that same guitar up, and she's like, I know it's terrible. I was like, why didn't you say something before you let me do that? Put my hands on that thing. It's terrible.
No respect.
Yeah, but I went to Sam Ash. None at all. No, and they had a few more But I'll tell you what my sights kind of switched to after that experience, and that is I always had a thing for Yaris, Alvarez Yari guitars.
I have a Yari.
I know you have a Yari, and you have like a 70s Yari, right?
I stole it from my father.
Yes. Well, I actually.
I stole his fucking Yari.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. This is too.
All right.
It's too much power.
It's good.
Too much power.
It is. So much power right at the fingertips. But yeah, I think either like 70s, 80s, or even like a 90s Alvarez Yari. I played a few 90s Yaris that were really, really killer back in the day.
Yeah.
You don't see them much, but I got online, started looking around at them, and it looks like any variation of that, like any from like the late 70s to the 90s, you can get for like $800.
Dude, that's
so that isn't
steal.
really that. I know.
Because those Yaris were their Japanese here, or I know Alvarez
exactly,
but the Yaris stayed Japanese for a long time. They might still be. I don't know if you can still buy a Yari or if they don't.
I think they are.
Or whatever.
No, I think you can still buy a Yari. Nobody carries them.
Of course not.
You can't find them anywhere. There was really one shop in town that was like a legitimate Alvarez dealer back in the day.
Yeah.
When I started playing guitar, and they've long since gone out of business. But yeah, so I thought about, trying my hand at that. There were just a couple online, and looked like the couple places that I found them had decent return policies, of course.
Nice.
So I thought maybe if I could get my hands on it and it wasn't completely wrecked, then it'd probably be a pretty decent guitar.
I've been wanting to take my dad's for a long time. I did some shit to it when I was younger just to get it to play that I kind of regret. So it almost needs a new saddle and not saddle, but what's the piece?
Bridge.
Bridge. It needs a new bridge and saddle.
Bridge.
I really want to take.
You need the bridge plane down.
Plane down. I really want to take, and maybe even a neck reset because it's that old and he never humidified it or anything. But I really. The thing is, like, I know when it's time to do it. It's gonna be like to do it right and really get it back in. Neck reset, probably a refret, like to make it what it should be. It's gonna cost, and I think I want the Indie String Theory dudes to do it because they seem like they'd be up to the task.
Yep.
I think it's probably gonna set me back a G, and I'll probably put some like electrics in it, some like just like a piezo, like an under the saddle passive system. I don't want to chop into it or anything, but like just like something to give it a little bit of more usefulness or whatever. But yeah, it's
something you can record with, plug in.
Just to have, and if I wanted to take it out or whatever. But it's a sick guitar. I mean, it's seen hell and high water, and I've played many shows on it. And I love the way it sounds. Actually, my Taylor, when I bought my Taylor, my 512 CE. I really was trying to get a guitar that had that sound because it's all mahogany. The Yari I have is all mahogany. So when I got my Taylor, I really wanted all mahogany. It's just I fell in love with that depth and that lack of brightness almost. I know for a lot of guys that's not what they're looking for in acoustics, but for me, and how hard I strum and the way I really love to play acoustic, I like to jangle a lot. And all mahogany guitars do something where they make that more pleasing to the ear. If I get like a real bright acoustic guitar, I also love dead strings on an acoustic guitar. I hate new strings on an acoustic.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that, but like my strings on my acoustics are almost always dead as hell. I don't think I've ever changed the strings on my Taylor, and I bought it new in 2015, and I played it live a lot. Wow. I mean, that guitar probably has thousands of hours on it. I've never changed. So shout out to Elixir for fucking taking that beating, but it's at the time now where, like, when you look at Elixirs that have been played to death and there's like that webbing just coming off of them places.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's doing that.
Yeah,
it's time.
They start fraying. They look rough. Yeah.
Dude, it's time, dude.
Yeah.
Like, if you touch that guitar, you'd probably get tetanus or whatever. It's probably not. Yeah.
Get some of that real good rubbing off on your fingers.
Yeah, you get that
Um,
that real shit. So, dude, that's cool. Like,
I don't know.
that's exciting.
I
I
don't
mean,
know, man. Like that. The thing is, like, that's really why I wanted to play a few of them.
yeah,
See,
sure.
like the old, so like the '70s and '80s Alvarez's, they were really trying to be Martins, and that was the same deal.
Very
Takaminis were
much.
trying to do that too, and that's what they all got sued for. They all got
Yep.
sued for having the Martin headstock
Yep.
and doing the whole Martin thing. They
My
they were all
Alvarez
trying
does
to
have
make
the Martin
D28s.
headstock.
Yeah, yeah,
Mine's
absolutely.
even called a
and anyone,
DM6.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So they weren't trying to hide it. They were like blatantly like, you want a Martin, but you don't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
Check us out.
Yeah.
You know.
Straight up.
But I remember playing some like Alvarez Yaris that were more modern, and they were more like, they were something in between a Martin and say like a Taylor.
Yeah.
As far as like the body shape was a bit different.
Sure. Sure.
And they had rosewood backs and sides, and I
Mhm.
mean, those always sounded really good to me. But I remember playing some different 12 strings. I think there was like a Fender 12 string that was like a jumbo body, and it had maple back and sides, and I really liked that at IRC.
Yeah. That sounds
So
familiar.
that's like, I wanted to play a few of them to kind of get an idea, but man, just like nobody had
Finding
anything.
them right now. Dude,
Yeah,
I'll say too.
so-
I wanted a little campfire guitar because my little that Indiana brand, Morgan Monroe.
Oh, Morgan Monroe. Yeah.
I had that
Yeah.
little travel guitar that was always like my campfire, going out with the boys, like just gonna like literally not care if it lives or dies. Like,
Right.
it fucking, the neck moved on it so much, and I mean I don't mean the truss rod. I mean the neck moved on it so much that it needed a neck reset. I think I bought that thing for like $125. So I actually gave it to a student at the library. I was like, you can learn your fingerings on this. Like, I was like, it's not gonna hold tune very well, but this will start you if you ever. And I'm sure he didn't fucking care. You know what I mean? Like, it was when he was young enough and didn't play at all. He was just like, I want to play. I kept it in my office at the library because there was a while I gave online guitar lessons through the library as a service to students at the library.
I had no idea, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that guitar lived in my office for a couple years, and so when I was leaving that job, he was like, "What are you doing with that guitar?" I was like, "Dude, I don't give a fuck about this guitar. Like, I brought it in here because I was gonna throw it in a trash can or burn it. Like, it literally, like, it would be cool if you blew it up in a music video or some shit." So it's like, here, take it, man. Just do what you will to this thing. It's on the last leg of its life, but you know.
Wow.
He thought it was cool.
Yeah.
It did look cool. It had a cool little vibe to it.
It did. It's like a little parlor guitar, if I remember right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all that being said, when I was looking for a new campfire guitar, I was like, I'm gonna go a little higher up, and I found Guitar Center was blowing out all of their John Lennon Epiphones. It's a Chinese made. It's got the classic little single coil thing in the neck, so it's passive. So I was like, oh, cool, it's electric if I ever need to plug it in. It came with nickel strings on it, because that's like the Beatles thing, I guess. When they did that, they would put like electric guitar strings on that, and then take the electric. Jim would know more, but I mean, I just put actual strings on it. But dude, I think when those things were new and hip or whatever, they sold for like $700.
Yeah, I believe that.
Because it's like the John Lennon model. I think it says his name on it or something. But
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
blowing
yeah.
them out for like $3 or $325 or something. So I was like, oh, this is cool.
Good deal.
And for $300, that guitar is really fun to play for me. I've never loved Epiphone's neck shapes. And this is before, I think they were blowing them out because Epiphone was switching over the whole line to the new, more Gibson-inspired stuff.
right.
And this is very much the old vein of Epiphone that we would think of an Epi neck. So it has that, like, not super distinct neck. It's just like that classic Epi D shape that they put on everything. But, like, for what that guitar
Their own
is,
detriment.
dude, yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
For what that guitar is, it's cool. And it has a sound. I mean, it's thin. It's not gonna hold up to like my Yari or the Taylor or the good acoustic, but it's a fun guitar, and it's not so thin that you don't like playing it. It's got enough into it. But I've played some cool Epiphone acoustics like that are like the fake hummingbirds, the fake doves. I had a buddy who had a fake dove that sounded really good.
I played one of those. Like it was $400 or $500, but it was like one of those. I can't remember. They call it like a master built or something like that.
Yes.
But it wasn't like, it wasn't like a. They're doing American stuff now. It wasn't anything like that. It was like $500.
It was just like a good epi build.
Yeah, and it had that. It had a more classy headstock on it too. It
almost
had like
kind of close to what they went to now.
Kinda, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fatter back on that one, but yeah, I remember. Those.
Yeah.
I remember those.
So I think the thing right now is that I kind of have an idea. I would still. I might actually take a trip up to Sweetwater. Sweetwater is only like 2 hours away from us. So
that'd be a fun trip.
Yeah, I might check.
I'll join with
I might
you.
check. Word.
That'd be sick.
We'll do a show. We'll do a show from the road.
Did you hear that they built out their actual? That would be fun to do, like a clip show.
Yeah.
They built out their storeroom, like their in-person storeroom. Did you hear that? I don't know who was talking about it. It might have been Phil McKnight or someone was saying like they
during COVID they did that.
Yeah, during COVID. So you know how back in the day they had like Sweetwater. If you went there in person, they had like what we would feel like was a very, very small music shop in Sweetwater that you could actually physically go to. The cool thing was if you went there and you were looking for a guitar, they would actually go pull guitars from their warehouse for you. Did you ever do that?
Which I never did that, but like if folks don't know, you can. That's rad. That's really rad. You can actually. So when you walk in the front door, the music storefront was right there. But if you walked on farther back into the building, you could literally go back and look through a window and see their like climate controlled warehouse with all like the automated everything, like
and how it's like boxed and shipped and like that.
Oh yeah,
Sweetwater as a compound is gigantic. So it was always
and it is
odd.
A compound.
Dude, it very much like they have their own cafeteria and stuff. Like it's not messing around.
Right.
But what was cool, so back then you'd go in and they had like a nice little room. They had like, a bunch of electric guitar amps. They had a little acoustic room, little keys room, but obviously they weren't set up to where you would physically go and shop like the store, right? Like it was more of like it exists if you go, but they didn't really push it. I had a guitar that I had bought from Sweetwater and I kept for like 27 days or something. Like I think their return policy is like 30. So I reached out to my rep and I was like, dude, like I've had this for a bit. I just can't vibe with it. It was that ES Les Paul, if you remember when I had that for
I remember that. Yeah,
and
for sure.
It was a Memphis-made Les Paul ES, so like semi-hollow. And I loved it in some ways, but there were some things I just couldn't wrestle with. So I returned it on like the last day I could, and I like emailed, was like, hey man, if I come up and avoid shipping, will you guys like hook me up with store credit? I'll just get a Les Paul, just a standard or a classic. And that's where I got my gold top from. I was like, dude, I really like these classic series Les Pauls, really like the plain tops and shit. And I was like, they had one sitting out. They had one gold, and back then the other color in the classic series was like this green burst. And I was like, dude, I'm
really surprised you didn't go with that green burst, man.
That green burst is something I've wanted for a long time, but the one I want is a very specific one. And the way they bursted those was like, it wasn't what I felt was cool. Like they quilted, I think, that classic series, and the original one was a flame. And I usually don't love flame top guitars, but for some reason that green on the flame always looked cool whenever I saw a picture of one. Every time I saw one of those green ones in person, it just didn't have the thing that drew me to the flame green ones I loved when I was younger. And I've always wanted a gold top, like just in general. So I ended up getting the gold top.
Right.
But they brought out,
I
think, 3 or 4 for me, and I picked my favorite one.
Wow.
So like it was super cool. They just brought them out and took them out of the box for me and set them up on stands, and I played through the couple they brought out, picked my favorite one, and
nowhere. Very, very few places will accommodate you like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and dude, I told him this too. I was like, I had even changed strings on the guitar I was returning, and I play 11s on everything in standard. So like, I was like, dude, I put 11s on this. Like, they were like, well, how new are they? I was like, well, I put them on like 2 weeks ago. They were like, it's fine. If they're dead, we'll change them. If not, whatever. You know, I mean, they were super
amazing
cool to me.
customer service.
Yeah, they were super
Unreal.
cool to me.
Yeah.
Gave me some
Yeah.
candy.
Of course, that's it, dude. That's the sweet. That's the sweet part.
Gonna get my bit of honeys.
Yes.
And
that's a really
what
cool
was
thing.
Really cool. It was on my birthday. The day I actually went up there was on my
Oh,
birthday.
nice.
So it felt kind of cool to like be like, oh, I got this guitar like literally on my birthday. So they didn't know. I didn't tell them.
Treat yourself.
But it was like, yeah, dude.
They probably would have like brought you a cupcake out with a candle in it. And
they
stuff,
might have.
You never know.
Or maybe they would have like brought me an R7 and been like, well, you could take this.
Oh, Jesus.
Just don't tell anybody. I guess they would have done that.
Dude, I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna tell them it's my birthday.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, no, you can't look at my license. right. But yeah, I mean that's one rad thing about Sweetwater is that like you can check their website and you can actually see, you know, if you're looking at Les Pauls and stuff, you can actually like literally go through the different ones they have in stock, and they have the weights there. They have pictures of the tops.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
you could, and
like,
from different angles, you can see how framed it is and stuff. So I mean, they are killer at that shit. They changed the game with that because they were doing that before anyone else. Everyone else kind of started to follow suit on the high end shit.
And we're just lucky enough to live within like 100 miles of them.
Yeah, they're in our state, so it's cool.
So,
but
sorry about your luck, folks.
Saying all that, I would love to go up and see that remodel. I would love to go up and see what they've changed it to, because apparently they were like, let's make it baller.
Me too.
So when we do Gear Fest and shit, when people come in, that we can really give them a rad experience instead of Gear Fest pretty much happens in the parking lot. I bet now Gear Fest probably happens parking lot, but also inside. I bet there's a lot of inside room.
And if they have Gear Fest, like live Gear Fest this coming year, we're gonna have to
like in-person Gear Fest. I would love to go to in-person Gear Fest again. That was cool.
Yep.
Dude, I remember seeing Dave Friedman fucking just sitting in the back of his booth with no one talking to him. Like, it's funny. Like, back then, I guess no one knew who the fuck he was. They probably just thought he was some big dude with a mohawk. Like, who the fuck is this guy?
It's before. I mean, I think we even passed by there. I think you were like, I think that's Dave Friedman. And like nobody had seen him really because he wasn't doing any social media stuff, podcast or like YouTube stuff back then. It was just like 2017, 2017 when we went.
16 or 17, one of the two. So like, I mean, Friedman was getting to be a big market name, but it's really crazy how they've exploded in the past. In that time, they've ramped to a brand that they used to be boutique, and I feel like Friedman's almost at the point where they're almost like an Orange or a Mesa, where it's like they are part of the guitar landscape. Where back in the day they used to be like, oh, you want a sick Marshall? You don't get a Marshall, you get like a Metropolis or a Friedman or whatever. And I think they've almost kind of like jumped that gap from being like just a cool boutique amp that some people know about to being like they are a name in amps, like at the level of like an Orange or whomever.
Well, yeah, and I mean they've got some big name sponsors over that time period too. They get Jerry Cantrell, the dude from Mastodon. I mean like
what is the
Steve Stevens.
Steve Stevens.
Oh, Brent Hines, I think is the dude.
With the butter slacks. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he's just picked up a lot of guys who are just playing his stuff proudly, like the guy from the guitar, Chris Shiflett from the Foo Fighters is all Friedman and has been for probably like 10 years now or whatever. He's one of the first dudes I saw playing them like big.
We learned from the podcast and his YouTube stuff is that he's literally modded Marshalls for like everybody.
Yeah,
and has been doing it for decades.
Yeah, dude. Like for dudes that are like guitar gods.
So he was just like percolating underneath the surface, and all of a sudden, he came up. So, but
I feel like he outshines a lot of his contemporaries, like the Sir guys and even the Saldanos of the world. I feel like he outshines them now, with like market presence, not with like. I mean, his quality's outstanding, but
Well, I think the whole social media thing changed the game for him.
He knew. I don't know if he knew or if he fell into it, but either way, like he found a vibe and did a thing. I think Wildwood, like with Greg Koch, like playing a lot of his amps because Wildwood, that store, loved his shit and pimped it pretty hard. I know for a while, I feel like Wildwood, like every guitar they demoed was demoed through a Friedman. So even if you weren't looking for especially a small box. I feel like they always use a small box. I remember looking at Les Pauls, and they would often plug them into a small box instead of a Marshall or whatever. And I was like,
Man, I went to like, guess continuing on this same topic, but off the main. But I did one work trip where I had to go to Denver, and I had like a 3-hour window. I was going to go to Wildwood because it was just close enough to possibly get there, and I got held up basically because of work and couldn't go. I just couldn't make it work. I would have come within like a hair of missing my flight probably if I would have went. I almost did it anyway.
Yeah, dude, that'd be a cool shop to see. That'd be a cool shop to spend some time at.
Yeah.
I've actually never been down to Wilcut, and you've had really cool stories.
Oh yeah,
we should do that.
Wilcut, man. I mean, like first time I went down there was back in like 2007.
Yeah.
And I went down there again a couple years ago, and I mean it's still very much the same. They've got everything you could imagine, you know. But yeah. So we'll have to check out Sweetwater for sure.
Yeah,
I'll have to pop on their website and see what they have in stock. But if I can't find anything, I'm not in a mega rush to get something, you know. But I do want it. I do want to add it, you know. I've got 2 acoustics. I will actually have 3. I've got a classical, and I've got a Taylor, and then I've got a custom built deal by a guy here in Indy. But yeah, adding a 12 string in would be nice. So,
dude, I've got
and if
go ahead.
I was gonna say if I could get something really cool, if I could get like an old Alvarez or something like that, I would be happy with that.
And I feel like that'd be worth the hunt. You know, and hopefully you get a good online guitar. I know that can be a little treacherous with acoustics, but vintage acoustics, like I feel like that's really part of the. You know what else would be cool? I could have Dan check out in his drivings. I can have him check out Carter and Groon for you from time to time, and if you see something in there, because I know he pops in. Carter, Groon, and Eastside are all like rad music shops in Nashville. I've been to, so like that'd be a cool thing that I know he pops in there to check shit out sometimes. So I'll tell him to keep his eye out in those shops.
Nashville isn't too far away.
It's not, and you'll probably pay the Nashville upcharge on used vintage guitars, but you know if it's worth it, you know it's rad. You know. Yep. Who knows?
I stopped at Groon actually. I made my on when I was like 14 or 15, I made my grandparents stop in Nashville when I was going to Florida with my grandparents on a vacation when I was wee little, and
I mean, Groon's a mecca.
We stopped in there, and like there was it was like a 100-and-something-year-old classical guitar that I wanted to play for some reason. Then he was like, "Yeah, here, sure, there you go." It was only like 13 grand or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Dude, when I was in there, the last time I was in Groon, this actually been a while. Dan and I did a bro day in Nashville where we had hot chicken and shit. I mean, but this was probably like almost 10 years ago now. It's probably like 2012 or 2011 or something. But we went into Groon and we were just killing time. And we told the sales rep, I was like, dude, we're just in here to dick around. Like we play and we're in bands and shit, but like I'm not gonna drop thousands. Like I appreciate it. He was like, well, what are you interested in? Maybe there's something like you could just feel like was cool. And I was like, well, it's something I'd really love to get my hands on. And Dan's interested in this too. So we're kind of looking for a pseudo vibe so we're not like splitting this guy's time. It's like set us up and then, you know, if we fall in love, you know, maybe I'll bust out a credit card that I shouldn't. And I did, which I'm proud of. But we were like, well, dude, take us to all your juniors, your Les Paul juniors and your SG juniors. And Dan and I had a good couple hours where we plugged into like a Princeton and like an AC-15, like an old one. And we just played a fuck ton of like 50s and 60s juniors. And dude, it was rad, dude. Like they had a
I love that they had a ton of 50s and 60s juniors.
I think they probably had like 7. Or they had enough.
I mean, that's like, a ton.
Yeah, I mean, for like, you know what I mean? Like, they had a whole bottom row of a room was like, I can't remember if the guy brought in some stuff for us or whatever, but like, yeah, I mean, and we sat around and we played and had fun with them, and it was cool to get my hands on some of those juniors because I've always loved them from afar, but I've never really spent time besides that day on a lot of those real old juniors because they have the vintage ones have like this cool bite, but they're also mean to play with. I mean, like in the like Jack White sense, where they're not easy guitars. None of the ones that were there were guitars that you were like, oh man, this one feels like butter. I mean, because the wraparound bridge and everything, it's like they all were like, man, this needs some love, and I don't know if it just hasn't got it, or if this
wraparound
just...
bridge and huge necks probably on all of them.
Dog. Yeah,
like massive necks.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, it was cool though.
Yeah.
It was cool to play them. You know, it was cool to fuck with them.
Well, that's like those experiences are just too few and far between. You know, we don't have anything like that here where you can just go. I wanna play a half dozen 50s and 60s, whatever. You know,
if you could just say,
like,
I want to play 5 vintage guitars, 60s guitars today. You couldn't do that in this state. You just couldn't.
Nope. It's unfortunate, but that is the case. So
I just saw Liz walk by the door. I was kind of hoping she was going to be not wearing clothing. Fortunately,
skivvies.
She was.
This time.
Right.
This time. Not gonna edit that out. We'd have to see what the Zoom features are like in here.
So I'm like, I'm working on
it. Respect. I would expect no less. But yeah. So I don't know, man. Like, the 12-string hunt. The 12-string hunt is on.
Well, it's a worthy hunt, and
but,
it's worth spending time on because you're probably not. Hopefully, you're not going to buy another one. Like, if you land on like some cool vintage Yari, that's just going to be it for probably the foreseeable future. If it does what you want and it sounds rad, that's just going to be your 12-string. You know,
unless I have money at some point to like throw down on a Collings or like something else.
Would you really go 12-string though? Like, if you were going to throw down money,
I mean, I would have. It would have to be like.
Would you go 12-string if you?
No.
Like, it'd be like absurdly high-end acoustic guitar. That's what I'm saying. Like, so that 12-string's gonna be in the stable.
If I somehow like strike oil in my backyard or something, that would be like.
I did it.
Or like a vein of silver or something. Yeah, exactly. A Texas tea.
Well, dude, I've got a random guitar tech question for you. So,
okay. Let's do it.
We talked on the phone a little bit earlier. Pieced together this guitar, and it's in a piece. It is a guitar now, and I think we've showed this body before.
Nice.
Got a
Where did you get the neck?
Fender. Fender makes these things called Stratocasters.
Oh right, yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah. No, but just.
I mean, where did you get it from?
Amazon.
Oh hell yeah.
Fender sells direct on Amazon. Real fast shipping.
Yes, they do. Okay, all right.
But this is it's just a player series. It's a $300 Fender neck.
Oh, okay.
It's not special. Cool. These are the they call them classic gear tuners. So they fit the modern drillings, but they have the buttons on top, which is what I put on my Telly too. So they've got like the big things here that look modern, but the tops the buttons. So it's like it's a good halfway house for not having to like go straight vintage. But it's the push in string. It's like the classic vintage winders and stuff.
Vintage.
It just fits the modern drill holes. So like I think it's cool they offer those.
Yeah, that's rad.
With the little dimples on them that just like set in. So like it took like 5 seconds to pop these.
Yeah.
But so the nut needs cut. The other Fender neck I got, like the nut was on the website they say it's pre-slotted.
Okay.
But the other one I was like, dude, it feels cut to where I need it, so it's cool. This one, like if I bend the high E, it will just fly off the nut. Like this is just
super shallow.
It yeah, very shallow. Like just enough for the string to rest in there, but like if I bend, like it just did it. It just pops off the nut. So I definitely need to cut it, and it's definitely high. It's high up in this range, right? And you can feel that it's high up there. But here's the weird thing. So that's high. In the neck, I've got so this has had strings on it now for probably 3 or 4 days, and I've adjusted the neck with tension and stuff, and the neck's straight now. And I feel like I've got the saddles, and I feel like the saddles are kind of high.
Okay.
On it, they're kind of ramped up. You could probably see better in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the saddles are jacked up. Like they've got a fairly high tilt to them currently, but it's still buzzing. Almost like my neck's a little too tight, but it's not. It has a wee bit of relief. I could probably give it more relief. And the action's right at that point of like I want it a tiny bit lower, but if it didn't buzz and it was this, it'd be fine. But I would prefer just a tiny bit lower. But so my question for you is, I've never had this experience where my neck is straight and my saddles are real high off, like about as high as I want them. I mean, maybe I could take them up a little bit, but then that action that I feel like should come down is going to go up.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm in the in-between thing of when I cut this nut, are all my problems going to go away? Like, is what I'm feeling, I don't know if you've experienced this, so like I'm wondering if what I'm feeling with the buzzing is actually just that I'm having to put more pressure on the first like 5 frets because the nut's so uncomfortably high, and when this gets down, my action's going to feel more playable, and then maybe I can give a little bit more relief to the neck so it's not buzzing. But yeah, it's just a weird experience because I feel like it shouldn't be buzzing right now because the nut's high, the saddles are high, and the neck is like reasonably straight, but I'm still getting buzz, which is weird.
Well, and I think we've talked about this before. It's like whenever you put together a parts guitar, you never know exactly how they're going to fit together. And it could be a thing to where your saddle screws, like the height adjustment screws, might not necessarily be long enough to accommodate how your neck actually sits in the pocket. So it might be a thing to where for that neck and that pocket, the total height of the neck as it's sitting out of the pocket might be a little too high. And in that case, you've got a couple options, and none of them are, but both of them are pretty invasive. Like one of them is flattening your frets and recrowning them to accommodate. The other is routing the neck pocket, like the depth of the neck pocket a little bit. And then the other thing is getting taller screws for your height adjustment, because that's what you
that's step one.
What I know about this is that's a hardtail, so you don't have the ability to actually raise the height of the bridge. Besides shimming, putting a shim underneath the bridge.
Exactly.
Which would be kind of
funky. And that's the other thing I thought too. And that's true. Like in my screws, my height adjustment screws have more to go. So I could get the strings up. They're not maxed out yet. They're at a. Yeah, I definitely have more to go there. I just So, but I feel like that the way it would feel on the action would take it to an action height that I would feel like would be the highest of all my guitars. You know what I mean? Right. So I would say get the nut cut and then see how it feels. Yeah. Because it could be a thing to where sometimes when you do, even if it's a fender neck, sometimes you do have to do a fret dressing anyway. Yes, for sure. There might be a high fret or something in there. Yeah, and there very well could be. It only takes one. And I won't know until the nut is proper, because right now the nut is so high that it just doesn't feel right. So, but I haven't cut it yet. So I'm hoping when I cut it, I'll be able to diagnose the problem a lot easier. I just wasn't sure if you've ever had that experience, because this is the first time. For me, it's weird because I've put together a million fender necks on this guy's bodies, and this is the first time this issue has come about. And it's not, we're not at like game breaking at all, because like when I adjust the nut, it's gonna feel different, and maybe when I adjust the nut, I can release slack in the neck, and I'll feel good. Maybe there is a high fret. I haven't put it on a fret rocker yet, because I was gonna just try to get it playing right before I even went deeper, but maybe it will need a fret adjustment or a route or a jack up of the saddles. But yeah, I won't know. I don't know yet, but this one, every time the parts builds, like you said, it's an adventure. It's always an adventure. So we'll see how it goes. I was just curious if you fucked with that, because that's usually I have like almost the opposite thing. where like
Right.
I'm like, oh, I can lower these saddles like way more than I thought I
Right.
could.
Lower everything. And the only thing I've had close to that is actually with this comparison where it, like, I think it has 27 frets, and the last couple of frets were actually a little bit high
Yeah.
when I got it, because it came here from Japan, and I had to do a little bit of finagling with it that way. But it was like, it was just in those last few frets that I had any issue, and it was causing it to, like, the action was perfect across the board, and even bending and stuff was cool. But when I bent the strings up at, say, the 22nd or 24th fret or something like that, it would choke out.
Yeah.
So I had to start messing with the bridge, and I figured out, like, I think I took a little bit off those last couple of frets.
Yeah.
And like recrowned them. Not that I ever use them, but they were just kind of like getting in the way.
It's just that thing when you know.
Yeah. So, and it's like when you know how to die, when you know what you want. Yeah. What's that?
And I haven't put the frets on a fret rocker yet either. So I don't. Okay. I very much could just have a fret that's high, and that's fine. I'll knock it down.
Yeah. That's not a big deal.
Nah. Like, yeah, none of it is like a game breaker. It's just the thing that's like, oh, I haven't had this problem when I was putting together a Parks guitar yet. Everything else is trying to slap and go, and I've gotten lucky. This one's fighting.
Yeah.
It also has this thing where the skunk stripe, like the glue of the skunk, I feel where the skunk stripe starts on the back of the neck a little bit. It almost could use a sanding down there.
Interesting.
But I thought, obviously, because I got it on Amazon, I could just fucking send the neck right back, and everything. Yeah. But when I put my hands on it, besides feeling that little bump, I love the way this neck feels. I almost don't want to sit back and get a knot. Like, I love this fucking neck, so I like kind of want to make this neck work because it feels like these player necks are sick. Like, they're really solid. And this is the roasted maple one. It's got like got the gloss finish front and the satin back. So like it feels
okay.
It feels
I saw the fretboard shining.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it had finish
all
over it or if it was just
I mean, I'm sure that's finished on the back. It's just like a satiny vibe, and then the board is like real glossy. So it's got a real nice feel to it. But
killer. Can't wait to check it out.
It's gonna be cool. It just needs love still. So we'll get there on it for sure. But you know how it goes.
Take a little bit of tweaking. Oh yeah.
As you build, it's always a fight.
Yep.
Always a fight.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. We'll get it worked out.
Sure.
Yeah.
I found 2 nut files, by the way.
You found 2 out of like the 5 or 6 that you were supposed to have?
I found
what on earth could have happened?
I don't know. I found 2 fret files that I was like, I pulled out a bunch of them. I was like, oh, cool. And 2 of them were fret files for like wide and narrow frets. I was like, okay, cool. Okay. So I have fret files still. And then I found the 1220 file, the double-sided StuMac, and I found a not double-sided 26 or 36.
Oh my lord!
From StuMac, those like the small ones that have a little black tab, and it's the same thing on both sides. Found one of those. That's all.
Crazy.
How if I know what the rest of the files are?
The basement's small.
Dude, lost in time at this point. Because, like, if it wasn't in that pile, that pile wasn't even where it was supposed to be. God knows. It was with my tube tester and all my electronic parts of my guitar bench.
Oh, wow.
They were misplaced.
Did you move all your stuff at one point? Like literally take your arm and swipe it off into a box or something? Like
maybe, like, when I moved into this house, I basically made a very small version, which, like, we routed that guitar on it, of, like, kind of the IRC bench, like, kind of a shit version of it. And I didn't have that in my other houses. So there could be some random box that got thrown out, or some random box up in, like, closet somewhere that's got rando guitar. I don't know what else would be in that box, though, because I feel like I have everything else. So I don't know, just super odd to find some files, but not all files.
That's bizarre.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, as I said before, I have a plethora if you need to borrow. So
I appreciate it. I will
yeah.
to get this thing going. Then I'll probably just trigger an order on a new set or whatever. But it's gosh, and I know I'll find
Those
them.
Hosco files. Oh, you will for sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for anybody looking for nut files and whatnot, string files. Hosco, actually, the Japanese company, they make some killer files. So
Nice.
you can either go StewMac or Hosco, one or the other. But I think you can get the Hosco files either on Amazon, or I think I might have got mine from either Amazon or Philadelphia Luthier Supply, one or the other. So.
Are they priced about the same as StewMac?
I want to say yeah, right around there. But I think the reason I went with them was not only are they're really good, but I thought they got a little bit more for the money.
Yeah,
maybe.
Dude, so Music Nomad has a kit of files too that looks really interesting. Have you seen their nut files? Dude, they're straight.
No.
Here, I'm gonna pull them up. Check this out.
Right on. Yeah.
Check these out because this is super dorky.
Which actually, I just informed Dustin of this, but Music Nomad, the company, actually liked one of our posts on Instagram, which was cool.
Thank you, Music Nomad.
So we're getting noticed. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Music Nomad. Appreciate that.
Sponsor us. But
whoa,
isn't that odd? Like it makes
that
sense
is very
though.
odd.
So you can't.
Yeah.
You can't smash the fuck out of your headstock. Basically, it's
right.
Like it's like.
And they're those are just interchangeable.
They're interchangeable.
Pop.
They sell them in a kit though. You're like we're all of them are this yellow thing, and you just buy like 6 or 8 or whatever you need. But yeah, kind of odd shaped. Look cool, and I've heard their stuff's high quality. But yeah, they do. You can pop out. I guess the package.
Okay.
Okay, but I did see you can pop the actual file out in swap, or I guess if it wears down, I can't imagine wearing down a nut file. Like,
well, you'd have to be doing a lot, like a decade worth probably to.
I mean, if you were doing on brass or something, maybe, but like, can you imagine wearing down a nut file on tusk and bone, like?
And plastic, yeah. I mean, that's just like
you'd be doing an absurd amount of guitar teching, like an unreal amount.
Yep.
But I thought
that's cool. I'd never seen
cool
that. That's really rad.
I don't know. So like, because I was like, if I have to buy them, I don't know what I'm gonna be. Like, do I go ahead and go for the new crazy cool thing, or do I just go with what I know? But I mean, it's a cool system, and like not having to worry as much about just taking that file and just stabbing the headstock. I was like, dude, that's kind of a cool design.
Right.
Like that's smart, at least.
Somebody thought about that a little bit. It looks like
someone probably did it a bunch, and then they were like, you know what? I need to make something that doesn't do that. You know,
after they scratched their last $5,000 Les Paul or something.
They just dug straight into that black. Yeah.
Yep.
So
the other thing that you can run into is actually slipping off the nut, going towards the frets, and it actually going down on the fretboard.
Yep.
I've had a couple clinch up moments from that too. Like you're cutting the nut on a Strat with like a gloss fingerboard like yours has, and if you slip that way, like away from the headstock, the tip of the file can actually go off the nut and down onto that finish, and then it's like
over.
You know,
game over,
bro. We're all gonna die down here. Yep. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do a lot of nut cutting on any 12 string that I purchase. So
my God, dude,
see how that goes.
Fuck that noise. Dude.
That's one thing I'm not looking forward to. I want something that I want something cheaper, but that I know I'm not going to have to fuck with a lot.
So they also make these things. They call them chorus pedals. They're blue, and if you turn that on, it
I actually have one right over there.
Sound like a 12 string.
I need that extra bit of headache though for those extra strings. That's what I need. Actually, here's a cool thing. I didn't know this until I did some teching for somebody, but first time I'd ever seen it was back in like 2007. Apparently, there's a Nashville system for getting a 12-string sound, but with a 6-string.
Oh yeah, I've heard
And
of this. This is
okay, you
hipster as
actually,
fuck.
for folks that don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
you
There's a ton
actually
of people.
you record your pass with the 6-string with normal strings on it, and then to get that 12-string sound, you take all those strings off. You put a much lighter gauge set of strings on, like the higher gauge from a 12-string set. You put those 6 strings on, and you re-record the parts with just those strings
Yeah.
on, and it gives you that 12-string effect.
You can even do it with different guitars too. I know some of those Nashville guys just
Yeah,
have like their
an acoustic
Nashville.
with yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
I've heard of
That's
guys
way
doing
too
it
much
with an
work.
electric too
Oh yeah,
to get
yeah.
in the country songs when they want that like
Uh-huh.
playing on the electric. I've heard that that's like a thing they do a lot just to add vibe in some parts. They'll do just like an electric pass with it just to give it
I
a
suppose
higher octave
you
feel
could
on like a
even
light gain setting.
yeah, you could even go as far as to like capo at the 12th fret and then play everything up a full octave.
Yeah, yeah, especially if
It
you're
might
cowboy
be
chording.
yeah, GCD. It might get kind of funky with intonation at that point, but
You have to have a
it
really
could
well
possibly
insulated
work.
guitar.
Yeah, with low action. Yeah.
Also, while I've
Yeah.
got the
But
web
no,
up, oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
I was
I
gonna
was
say no. I want to put myself through the headache of
there.
yeah.
Um, so Boss is releasing this.
Oh,
Um,
oh my!
it's just an SD1. I
It's
clicked on
black
something.
though.
It's black.
It's
Well,
black.
here's why I'm telling you
So
this because you're an animal.
okay.
God damn it!
Enters
Oh my god, I
webs.
did it again. I did it again. It's gonna move again.
Oops, you
This
did
is
it
what a
again.
shit wreck. Um, so I think it's like $10 more than normal SD1. I love the SD1, of course, because Tube Screamer.
This is known.
But so I have this in a couple years back. They did the DS1 version of this. It's the 40th anniversary of the SD1. So when they hit the 40th
Okay.
anniversary of these things, they do an all black with the color print of the actual pedal. So the DS1 has orange on black here instead of like the inverted classic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because the regular one is yellow with black lettering.
yeah, right.
Right.
So this is that. But what I want to show you is DS1 4A. So I want to show you what these go for now.
Oh, dude.
So if
Yeah.
for some reason you just wanted to spend $60 and then a couple years later not open the pedal and sell it, I saw some of these going for as high as 160 for a
Wow.
fucking DS1. It's literally
Just a different color scheme.
It's just a different color scheme. It's not.
Wow.
This isn't special. It's just a DS1 in black, and it's going for as much as like basically the old 80s DS1s basically.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
120,
mental.
160. So if you want to grab one, sit on it, and then just sell it for an extra $60, if that, whatever, just a heads up. Or if you just want to buy one because it's cool. I've got the black DS1 on a board because a while back I was like, dude, I just want a DS1.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have one. I had one when I was a kid
Just
at
want
some
that
point in time.
DS1 good.
And I saw that DS1 came out. I was like, oh, shit, I'll buy that. And, I bought it for 40 or $50 or whatever it was then. And now apparently boss collectors who didn't jump on the bandwagon want it.
I wish I still had that the Metal Zone pedal that I bought back in like 1999. Wish I still had that. Throw it out there. Hipsters would eat that up.
They'd love it.
Eat it up.
They'd be so into it.
You could turn that gain down to like 0.3 and get your clon tones out of it.
You know what really sounds like a clon? The Metal Zone on no Game.
Metal Zone, bro. Metal Zone. Get that Metal Zone tone. Well, you had that whole like high mid and low mid scoop or whatever it had on it too.
Yeah,
so
most
yeah,
soulless.
that's yes.
Oh, you know what's
Absolute.
funny? Listening to the JHS podcast stuff has turned me onto this. That all those guys talked forever about the special diodes that you have to kill somebody to get in the clones or whatever, and that's why no
Yeah.
clone of a clone is the same thing, right? Josh
Right.
from JHS had this great point that's super logical. He's like, most of the dudes saying that are the dudes who run their clones at absolutely no gain. They run it as a clean boost,
Right.
right? He's like, by the
Right.
way, I don't think you guys understand the way this circuit works. If that gain knob's not above 60%, that diode isn't clipping at all. So your mythical boost is literally not using the thing you think makes it mythical, and you're full of shit.
Right.
So
Right.
like he's like it's not
You could.
his point is like it's not even mythical when you have the gain up. It just has a sound and the clones do a great job. And he's had whole episodes where he played like 20 clones against his clone and set them
And
to
they
match
all
over.
sounded.
Dude, from like the
Yeah.
$30 like Donner ripoffs to like the rocket archers and everything. Like he got everything to sound like his real thing. Like
Yep.
it's like, dude, like and I thought, but his most prescient statement in that for me was like the fact he's like, dude, all you guys talk about how this shit's like got mythical stuff and the board's gooped and we can never know or whatever.
Right.
He's like, but like
Right.
most of you guys that love this pedal aren't even getting any of the mythical juice that you think you are from it because
Dude.
those things
Okay.
are literally scientifically not making a difference. Like from a very schematic level, the shit you're saying
Yeah.
makes the most difference has no impact on your sound because you're not using it in the pedal the way you have your pedal dialed in. I was just like, dude,
Dude,
that's
let's
fucking
just
brilliant.
let's find a way. Let's buy the absolute dirt cheapest clone we can, and basically just make it to where they can't turn the gain up at all, and then goop the boards, and then sell them. Sell them for $6,000 a piece. That's what we should do.
Dude, was
Like
it
you can
the
never know. You can never know.
was it the KDH guy? What's the acronym? He's like a young dude, long hair.
Yes,
Uh,
KDH super long hair.
it-
He put the DS1 in the clone box. Yes.
for April Fools.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah, that was
This
great.
is brilliant, dude.
I'm sure, dude. I can't tell you. There's probably like there's probably like 1,000 people out there that immediately wanted to go out and put their DS1s in clone boxes.
Dude, dude, if he would sell those, I would buy it. If it was reasonable, that's like $100 pedal. It's so fucking funny
Right.
if you're into gear.
It is.
That,
It's
like,
hilarious
I would
because the
straight
footprint
buy
on
it.
it.
Yeah.
The footprint on it would take up like 3/4 of your
Oh,
board.
dude,
So it's
yeah.
like
I
mean-
would straight buy it and just fucking laugh because it's
Oh,
so that's such
It's
a true statement
ridiculous.
for guitar players. Like that is
Right.
what a guitar player is. Like we will
Yep.
fucking make it look cool, but it's actually a DS1, which is a tagline because almost every dirt pedal it's just a fucking DS1. Get over it.
Yep.
Or Rat.
Yep. We've talked about that many times. All
Or
the
Tube Screamer.
early Wampler pedals, all that stuff is just either a DS1 or a Tube Screamer that they tweaked
That'd be tweaked.
maybe a little bit.
And he
Yeah.
has an old PDF book you can find and just
Yep.
lays it out there
It's got-
for you.
Got all the secrets.
I
But
still
it's
haven't
all
done
it's
that.
all
I
like
would still love to tweak. Go buy a DS1 or he had a cool tweak. I think he had like a super overdrive, like an SD1 that he had a schematic to tweak to like 99.9% specs of a Marshall Governor pedal, which are another like, oh, it's mythical. And I think, and then he had one that it had to turn your DS1 into a JCM 800 style drive, which
was basically like
he did the Flex Storage.
yeah. Right. Yep.
And I have a Flex Storage, but I bought
But
one of those early ones. Actually, I should show that.
Oh, dude, they were
kind of cool.
when they first came out. Like nobody. That was a new thing.
They changed the
You know?
game. He was the best
They did change the game.
at.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk this far away from my-
Yeah. I can't losing you now. You can hear you a little bit, but
yeah. So there were, and Boss themselves had pedals out when he was putting them out that were Marshall and boxes or whatever. He was smart enough to market them. Which she's usually pretty bad at marketing, but with his graphics and stuff, he's terrible and still is. But
yeah.
he was smart enough to, with his words, to just tell you like
Plex.
if you put
Right.
this in front of your Fender, it's as close as you're going to get to a Marshall. And so I bought this. This is a pretty old Wampler, and I know it's
That was like,
backwards, guys.
yeah,
I know
right,
it's
right.
backwards, but this is like, so you can tell
That's that
this is
purple with metal flake in it, right?
purple metal flake, and I know it's kind of hard to see
Yeah.
the color too, but this is still, you can't see this. This is before even screen printed. So this, all the knob names and stuff on this are, it's literally just a label print, like you would
Right.
get like from Home Depot or no Office Max, and print
Yeah.
out like the clear strip. He just printed on white text and plop right over the pedal. Like you could feel it. It's not screen printed.
Yeah.
He didn't spray over it. Like I could peel it off if I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this wasn't even like before that. I think he had something that looked even worse. But this is probably 2007, maybe
7. Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
8.
That was when he was still making them in his house.
Yeah, so this is probably like
For sure.
this is probably him making them.
Right.
So cool pedal. I don't think he does this one anymore. It's gamey as fuck.
Yeah.
Like it's got a lot of game to it. And there's
Yep.
a while where this was like a pretty big mainstay for me. It's been on some boards for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing.
It's cool.
Hey,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it's crazy to see, like, now it's like just kind of the run of the mill thing, but back in the day it was like, ooh,
Yeah, dude.
ah,
I
you know?
had that. I remember the first, like, what boutique pedal was for me was a Maxon PS9.
Yeah.
And back then it was like,
Yep.
oh shit, it's Max. For me, it was like, it's Maxon. This is like the
Right.
real thing. And like, it's closer to back then because these are guys who made it originally. I know Maxon now is like, no one gives, it doesn't feel like anyone cares about Maxon anymore.
No. That's the thing is like those companies like Maxon and Keeley that were before even Wampler was doing any of that stuff. Like they were doing that stuff, way back.
Yeah.
And now like no people don't even like they don't even blink at a Keeley or anything like that.
Yeah. Which is crazy because he's still in the game too. Like
he is,
he
man.
hasn't left at all, and he's
And his pedals are amazing.
Yeah, Mike had that. He had that Blues Breaker style pedal on his board for a while. I don't know what Keeley called it, but it was supposed to be like a JTM 745 Blues Breaker circuit or whatever, and it did the thing.
It sounded great.
Yeah, it had that.
I still want
crunchy thing to it.
Yeah, yeah. I still want one of those the dark side pedals that Keeley makes. Pink
Wait a minute,
Floyd
I'm not sure if I remember this. Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah, they made it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was basically like Dark Side of the Moon. Like every tone from Dark Side of the Moon you could get from this one pedal.
That's really cool.
It's crazy. Like it's not really like, I mean, if you want to have one of those tones set and dedicated on your board, it's cool. It's not really a pedal that you can change those tones on the fly, but you can get them individually. Like you can, like song by song, you can get basically every tone.
Dude, that's so sick.
It's insane.
Dude,
it's really killer.
Because who doesn't want just like, tape? It's got a tape echo. It's got a fuzz.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I mean that's sick. I'm surprised someone hasn't used this to make like a really cool part of a record or whatever. I guess it's kind of expensive for.
They may have.
They have, true.
Who knows? Yeah. But it's one of those pedals on my list. Eventually, maybe for Christmas or something, I'll bring it back up and like drop some hints.
That seems like it could be a really fun thing, like a real fun play, just to like step on when you're jamming by yourself and just like get inspired.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the type of shit, like especially because it's got it all in one. You don't have to fuck with your delays or whatever. You just go straight to the pedal, and it just is how you want it to be. Because when I think Floyd, there's a couple tones I love, but if I had this, I would set it and forget it and just go to it to do a thing every time. It'd be cool.
Yep. I actually have that. I'm getting an idea now of just doing a Pink Floyd style board where I get like that pedal. I put my Holy Grail with the plate reverb on it, and get like a Univibe pedal to put on there as well.
Oh, you saucy boy!
Yeah. Dude, that's another thing that's really got me right now, the Univibe. Like, I've been looking at Univibe pedals.
You just gonna get the old one that's like probably $5,000?
No. I believe MXR makes one that's pretty inexpensive, but gives like a really, really killer Univibe sound.
Didn't
yeah, that one right there, the Vibe. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's got a cool deal to it. But
you know, MXR
it's
pedals are pedals I haven't spent a lot of time on, honestly. But I feel like they're cool. Like, I feel like I need to get more into checking their shit out and seeing what's what.
Yeah,
They've got some cool shit.
Yep.
They do that.
They've made some really cool stuff.
That one pedal they do.
They're another company that just hasn't been great at marketing.
Yes,
I don't think.
Oh, you're right. Dude, like this pedal they do. So by the way, if people don't know, MXR and Dunlop are the same fucking company.
Right.
So, there you go. Especially the pedal world. I know Dunlop obviously has many other ventures, but when you see a pedal that says Dunlop, it's MXR. So
right.
I've played on this. And this is sick, and they even do like just a preamp one of this. That's just like a kind of like the EP booster. It's like their version of an EP booster that's bigger.
Right.
There it is. Like, and they're both cool for that thing. And I have a deep love for the EP booster also. So
as do I.
Dude,
that's
cool.
One that's gone back and forth. But yeah, I've thought about doing that. Like, it'd be a cool experiment, you know, cool thing to have around.
For sure. Didn't that pedal show dudes do a Univibe recently?
Yes, they did. Well, I don't know if it was recently, but I know they did. I watched that for sure.
Was it a Harmonious Monk? Is that what it's called?
I cannot recall. They've done. I don't know if there's anything now that they haven't done. You know, that they haven't done a shootout of, like any type of pedal that they haven't touched. Oh, that's cool. That looks like an old Zvex pedal.
Yeah,
like
it really does.
the color scheme and everything.
Yeah. So this is like another Dan and Mick sick pedal thing.
Yeah.
Harmonious Monk, and I can't remember if it's. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Harmonic Tremolo. It's not Univibe.
Oh God.
It's Harmonic Tremolo.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like that's a thing you can almost fucking use as a uni, though. You know what I mean? Like, when you get deep into, like, harmonic trim, Univibe, just vibrato in general, like, they're all pretty darn close to the same vibe of the effect. Yeah.
It's cool.
Very cool.
It's a different thing. Yeah. I'm gonna check that out.
Sound.
I mean, I've got that Keeley D&M drive. It seems like they're teaming up with pedal companies. They do good things, you know.
Yeah, and dude, I know they've played that on their show a bunch too. So it sounds killer. I don't know if it's the sound you're looking for, but it's a cool sound. I know they also love this, which I think is another harmonic trim. But this mini vent, I've heard a bunch from. Dude, you should check this one out because these vent pedals.
Rotary cat. Oh, it's a Leslie simulator.
It's like Leslie, but that's like what Univibe is trying to be, though, right?
Right.
So it's all in that same like kind of mix of a world. This would be one to like look at on your search. It's probably saucier than the MXR for sure. But
it has that look to it for pedals where it looks like they're like we want you to spend a lot of money on this.
I bet this is $300. They tell us. I
Probably
bet this is a $300 pedal. But I know before they made their own, this was on Mix Board, the Strat guy, all the fucking time.
Really?
Every time he stepped on it, I thought it sounded super sick.
Is it $600? How much is it? It's $400. Okay, yeah. Good times. Well, it better sound good for that much.
No shit.
Jeez.
There's one left in stock, so everybody heard.
Oh Lord.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm gonna have
$400 for a fucking vibe or whatever that is
Yeah,
my jam.
that's
But
kind of
like,
that's kind of rough.
I mean, that for
I'd
me,
be
that's
really
how
into
like,
that.
I'm trying to think like what for one effect. I don't know. I've been looking at. So you know how I told you I was thinking about switching my board up. I keep
Yeah.
going all over the place on it on what I want to do, and part of me is like, do I just bite the bullet and start to go this direction, and just call it fucking over?
You gonna get an HX stomp?
Close.
Okay.
Still single pedals, but
Oh yeah.
and go MIDI through like
Yep.
by like a mastermind or something.
Yep.
Because these all have MIDI, so they do one of these
Yeah.
that's chorus and delay and reverb.
Oh
And
wow.
none of them are that like. This is I think the most expensive one on the used market. You can find these for $200 a pop, which is insane. And they sound really good. And like it's like all in a box. It's like for trying to be like compact and useful. I don't know.
Yep.
But I go back and forth because I think shit like this with MIDI is great when you have songs and you're playing stuff that's written. I think for me, it's a little bit more cumbersome when you're in a jam writing scenario. And not so much writing when you're recording, but like when you're writing and you're like with your boys in a real-time playing scenario, and you're like, oh, I want chorus. Like, I don't want to bend over and switch fucking knobs and shit. I just want to step on a fucking chorus pedal.
No, I think you're on the right track. Like that would be something like putting together a MIDI board where you have all those tones immediately like at your disposal or after you've already written everything, but you've written them with like 15 separate individual pedals.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And you've had to change those pedals for every different song and like for different parts. That's when something like that that boss pedal would really just save your life.
When it would shine. And same
it
thing
would,
like
yeah.
what you said with like the HF Stomp and all of those things, same thing too. Because when we go live, and we're doing it Friday, not live, but when we start jamming again on these new tracks, we're going in-ears. Everything is going to be sent out to a real amp, and everything's going to be sent out through the Iridium into the in-ears. So the real amp is just providing me my vibe, my air moving behind my jeans type of thing. But really, everything we're going to hear is actually going to be Iridium, basically.
Right.
And live, I don't think, like, if we took it to a gig, I don't know. It probably depends on how my feelings are with it. Like, I think the Iridium is good enough to just be a through the main sound with, like, especially where the places we'd be playing would be small enough to where you'd still hear my on-stage shit, too. So, like, that mix would be whatever, and you'd get a real clean signal from the Iridium, and you don't have to fuck with a guy who doesn't really know how to mic a guitar cab or whatever. I think there's benefits. So, we'll see how it goes. So, I haven't torn apart my other board yet, but I keep thinking about it, and, I don't know where it's going to land or what. Probably, a lot of it's probably going to have to do with, like, where the project actually takes itself. Whether it's just, is it us writing for a studio recording? Then I probably won't change anything. I'll probably just make sure.
Right.
I'll probably recable the board, just because I'm fucking done with these solderless cables, and just probably leave it about the same. Maybe switch out some dirts or whatever. But if we decide we want to try to like jam in some like brew pubs or whatever, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know. It's not have to. But for this week, because I'm debating, because I've been thinking about, like, I've started to take apart the board, but it's like, so do I put it back together? I think this week I realized my Friedman amp has an XLR direct out on it with cab sim.
Oh.
So I think this week I'm going to take my Boss board, send it through my Friedman, and that's going to be my in-ear sound. So I don't have to, like, rush to put together my pedal board again. Because my Boss board sounds sick, and it's got everything I need to write. I don't know if I've shown the people my Boss board. I think I shall now.
I don't think we've been there yet.
Yeah, so I'll show. There's a reason it's called this.
It's appropriately named.
I'm wearing sweatpants.
And
I look like a.
Yeah, dude, you're doing you.
Oh, I'm comfy. So we call it. I'm gonna let it focus. We call it the Boss board. Did it focus? Yeah, there we go.
Getting there.
Because
it's all boss all the time. And this is one of your 16 different boards you have currently.
You know
right?
what? I only have 2 together right now. I have a lot of pedals.
Right.
That's part of it. Oh, and the cool thing about the boss board is it's great for small jams because it all runs off the Pedal Train Volta. So I just charge this up, and it's got enough juice to kick this out for a lengthy jam or writing session.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Takes
That's
one
rad.
wire out of the situation and gets rid of if you have any ground hum around. They're not plugged into the main, so it takes one humming thing out of the situation, which is a great thing about those powered. And I'm sure if you get really into it, I'm sure there's a way it still adds hum and stuff. And none of that's isolated power. It's daisy chained as fuck. But like real world purposes, it's quiet. I use one spot on all my boards actually. Just actual one spot that everyone says is the worst shit on earth. I never have power issues with it. I may just be lucky.
Yeah.
I also haven't. Well, no, fuck that shit. I used a one spot when I gigged fucking in every shit basement, shit church, shit underage or not underage, but like all age venue. I fucking one spotted my board, and I never had fucking
really
ground hum problems.
Any ground?
No, never.
Wow.
Fucking never. It was always just reliable. That's why I've stuck with them. Because I know people knock them like they're the fucking devil. But I don't believe they are. Now, is it better and does it add safety net? And since I have X tens of thousands of gear, is it ridiculous that I refuse to pay $120 for an isolated power? Yes, it is.
Well, I think I only ran into one. I only ran into one situation where I had a ground loop issue, and my amp, that Angle, had a switch on it. So
awesome.
and that's back when I was using one of those Gator boards with a Gator power supply on it, which the Gator power supply is probably worse than the one spot.
Or the same, just because it was built into the board.
Or the same. It was built in the board, yeah, and it was just like a 1-in with 8 different outs on it, but they weren't isolated. Yeah.
Dude, that's how everything was back then. This whole isolate everything thing, it came about with the pedal boom, right? When pedals became super cool, now you needed super cool power for all your super cool hipster pedals. And it's like...
Well, I think they probably started, some dude that had built, custom-built pedal boards for pros. He probably started circulating that idea that you needed isolated power for everything, and then because that's what dudes were paying 10 grand for back in the day.
I get it. I always find it laughable when my buddy plops down his board in front of my amp, and it's all isolated power, and then I pop in my board, and it's got
none of that. Yeah.
None of that, and they are the same audible level. Does it fucking matter?
Yeah. Yep.
I know it does, and I know that. I think the counter argument is there's situations where it would matter that I haven't experienced. Yeah. Also, I'm very fucking rock and roll in my shit. If my shit's noisy sometimes, I don't think I care. It'd have to be exceptionally noisy for me to care. I'm using gain. Sometimes I'm using single coils now, which I never used to do in the past. So I know I'm gonna have noise in general just because I use single coil guitars now.
Right.
It's just part of the fucking thing for me. Roll off the volume or stomp on the tuner pedal. That cuts it until it's time to go with your little bit of noise.
You don't even use a noise suppressor anymore, do you?
I stopped that when Pop Punk Dustin stopped, basically. But I used to turn the gain knob all the way up and break it off. Stupid amounts of gain on a DSL. Second channel, boost in, never enough gain. Then I would use a noise suppressor. But, since I went to basically using single channel amps or whatever, the noise suppressors got kind of lost because that feel of that grab. I always feel the grab of the noise suppressor. on me.
The boss noise suppressors are always real bad with that. I never
Yes.
had any issue with
So,
that with the ISP.
Your ISP is
noise
better. I think
gates.
you even let me use your ISP at some point in time, and it was better. But I still felt it a little. But yeah, dude, I'm just straight raw dogging it.
Raw dogging it.
Raw dog.
You need that pedal, man. You need that. I can't remember what the dude's name is, but they had somebody came out with a distortion pedal, and it was the Raw Dog.
That's good. It's probably
Gotta
way
have
huge. I feel like way huge is just all their names.
Yeah,
fucking,
yeah. Filthy.
Yeah, dude.
Filthy little innuendos.
And, and Friedman.
Ooh.
I love Friedman for that too.
Oh yeah,
Naughty,
absolutely. Hottie being naughty. Yeah, bro. Well,
yeah, dude, we're at the 135 on it, so it's probably time to chop it. So
yep.
Let's outro this shit.
All right. Let's do it.
Thanks for watching. Fuck you.
Thank you. Like and subscribe. We love you.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.